Welcome back to another SuperCoach video with me, JD. You're joining me for the round 7 review, and apologies in advance. I did hurt my coccyx really bad today going down the slide with the kids. I can't sit properly, so I'm really worried about how the next 20 to 30 minutes is going to go. And I'm trying to wrap this up before Baku begins at 9. It's 8:30. SuperCoach is just open. So it's going to be a pretty interesting video, whether I can sit still for 20 minutes and also get it done in time to watch the F1. But moving on to the team itself, 24-4-6 this week. In about 650 for the round, which is actually a drop on last week. So 2 really good weeks back to back, and we're now into the top 1,000, which is pretty good considering where I was 3 weeks ago. Where was I? I'm going to have a look, but I think I was outside the top 20k. Oh, it is slow tonight. That is unfortunate. We've got a lot to look at too. Come on, SuperCoach website. You can do it. So while we wait, I'll talk through trades. So trades last week were, of course, I had to use my last boost, which is not good to get Took Miller out of my side, given he was injured. And what I traded out, McKenna and Wilmot, who both had pretty good weeks. You know, they would have been nice to be held, especially with the place where rookies are at the moment. Oh, by the way, rude that I actually lost the league, but if I go check, I think it was against Locke, who's now in the top 30 or 50 overall. Oh, it's going to be bad all night. Where was my loss? Yeah, here we go. Leagues. Oh, yeah, we've got the 6-man league lead now. Here we go. Where's Locke? Check him out. Round 27 rank, overall rank 27 as well, which you can't see because it's in my head. There you go. So yeah, if you had to lose one, that's a pretty good one to lose. While we're in leagues, let's actually just quickly check those rankings. How is FantasyTakeTV going? That's pretty good. That's the top 10, 11 leagues now for 20 man. Pretty good. Yeah, we'll take those. 18, we've got the top one there as well. We don't have a 16 or 14. We've got the 12. We've got the 10. We've got the 8. And we've got the 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of 6 leagues that we're competing in. We've got the top league 4, which is pretty nice. All right. So as I was mentioning trades last week, we'll have a look at the history here, which you should be able to see down the side. So Miller out, it was as well as McKenna and Wilmot, and then in, oh my God, it's not having a good night, the old SuperCoach. In was Day, Mitchell, and Petrarca, who was my hero this week, going 167, backing up the Marshall captaincy. Keys to a good score, no doubt. And we're going to have a look at my history rank overall pretty quickly here. So season rank, I was 22,000 here, rank 3, 20, yeah, outside the 20,000, and then 13, 2, and into the top 1K. Now, I don't think this will hold because I've traded pretty aggressively. I think my cash gen's going to go. I mean, part of the trades and aggressive trading that got me here was I got rid of Ashcroft a couple of weeks ago, and it's definitely someone I'd like to have now. I missed out, obviously, a big score on the weekend. And the bench is very dead, so we'll talk about what we actually do in that situation. I'm still figuring that out myself, but yeah, had exactly $0 left after getting Petrarca in, which was pretty nice. Okay, so let's talk through the team overall pretty quickly. So in defense, basically I have a full defense here, which is nice. Originally I was going to take Mitchell's score, but Mitchell was subbed off by Big Mitchell himself, which, you know, it happens sometimes, and him finishing just on the 41, not ideal, but it does happen. We've really just got to hope that it was a tactical sub and not that he'll actually be dropped. I thought he was better than, you know, the debutants like Weddle, so I'd be surprised if he was out of the side after that, but it was confusing that he was subbed even as a tactical one. So yeah, I need some bench cover, so hoping he comes back. We'll talk about some of the other bench problems in a minute. Cowan was managed, but Chincotta or Sincotta, I always thought it was Sincotta because they debuted him as Sin on Carlton's Twitter, but everyone seems to have it as Chincotta, so I've heard that it can be pronounced either way based on whether it's like Italian or Aussie saying it. But anyway, so yeah, Chincotta, which I'll try and say now rather than Sincotta, which has been saying this whole time, played really well again. He's going to be the obvious rookie target this week. And I don't really see how Cowan gets back into the side with Sard and Doherty back at the moment, to be honest. Feels like there are others it could be like that. Yeah, like just others ahead of him now. So yeah, full defense this week, which was good. Originally, I was going to play Mitchell's score, but with him, I put the emergency on him. He got that 41, and then I moved Sheasel back there and put Ryan on the field, which was a nice 30-point gain. Rest of the defense. So Dacos was disappointing, especially for those that had him as captain. Was one that I was originally keen on doing as captain, English into Dacos. But as soon as we heard that they were going to put a tag on him, and I thought it was going to be Keys, who'd be a good match for him. And it turns out he was a pretty good match. But, other unfortunate stuff happened with Dacos's Achilles or calf. I didn't really hear which one it was. He did have Achilles issues in the preseason. So yeah, one to watch this week on what actually happens with Dacos. I think he'll be fine, but the tag was definitely effective in this game on a close one. But yeah, no concerns about him, and just unfortunate for those that took him as a captain this week. But yeah, as soon as you start hearing the tag news, like that was a big sign for me to jump off. All right. Stewart was really good again. I was kind of worried that they were blowing Essendon out so badly in the first quarter that we weren't going to see much chance for Stu to score, but he got his, as he always seems to do, especially the second and third quarter was really good. This day score could have been a lot bigger. Still went up 38k, which is great. Like, I'm really happy with him as a pick. I want to say he was on like 90 at three-quarter time or something like that, and just really didn't do much in the last, like just eased up a ton. So yeah, against Freo this week, he should score really well. I'm like very happy with getting him as a discount keeper. Zeeble came off injured in this game as well and managed to come back on and tough that out and actually grind out 100 from pretty far back, which was impressive. And then Sheasel bounced back this week, which is the other big one. Was he going to be someone that we had to trade this week? And it looks like no. And also the quotes from Clarko is that they want to continue playing him back for the foreseeable future, which is great news. So really, we've only got to worry about tags with him. And look, against St Kilda, they have been known to tag in the past, although they haven't really done it much this year. So look, that is something that could potentially happen this week, but it doesn't seem to be Ross's game style, so maybe not worried. And then Ridley continues to disappoint. Really tough because with Laverde out, he had to play key tall. James Stewart, who would be traditionally depth, is injured or hasn't been there. So Ridley played on Jeremy Cameron for the first half and then Hawkins for the second half, and he did well on both, but they're just not conducive to good SuperCoach scoring roles, and didn't get much chance to drop off and take contested intercept marks. So as I've said since a few weeks ago with Ridley, yes, I'm going to want to move him on at some point. Absolutely. He's not even close to top 6 or top 10 really, but I'm happy to have him there over the rookie scores that people are fielding, and my approach has been to aggressively get rid of those rookies, which meant that I wasn't fielding a 30 or a 40 from a Green, a JVR, a Mitchell, a Jimby, or whoever it may have been this week. So yes, looking at his score in isolation sucks, but when I consider what it's helped me do with the rest of the team, I'm okay with it. He was originally Dawson. For anyone that remembers, my round one team had Dawson instead of Ridley, but I traded Dawson down to Ridley to get the 100k to make sure I get Dacos in week 2. Getting Dacos in week 2 was obviously the right move, but getting rid of Dawson, that's a pain. What could have been if I didn't do that? So yeah, overall, this is okay at the moment. I've obviously got 6 defenders already. So as much as someone like Sinclair, who is a pretty good trade option this week, appeals to me. Sicily looks like he's had bottomed out as well. It was against the Dogs. He's got Freo this week as well, who are one of the easier sides to score against. So that doesn't surprise me. He's just been really up and down and inconsistent compared to other years. But yeah, Sicily. You got Sinclair, because they're trying to finish last, right? Sinclair against North this week seems pretty good, and he is at proper bottom at 540k, which is a really nice price for him. I think he's probably, a 110 average from here. 105 to 110, and maybe 115 upside. I don't see him going kind of back to 120, but yeah, this is really nice. And really nice price point. And for those that missed Day, I guess you could go Day again, even at sub 500k. I think he's still a good value option. So that's all good. And then, yeah, Dawson is the one that I obviously don't have, who I'd love to have. And I was hoping he'd drop a little bit more with a 152 break even. But yeah, he bust out a 150. Got some really nice scaling at the end of this game, taking kick-ins and whatnot. So yeah, at 667k, he is too expensive, and I'm not going to be paying up for him. It's more expensive than Oliver and Laird and stuff at the moment. Who's actually dearer than him? It's probably just Bont and English, the only two more expensive than Dawson. So, like, is he worth being the third highest price? No. Do I wish I'd had him still over Ridley? Oh, yes. Oh, I don't even want to think about how many points lost that is. 30 a week for 7 weeks, 210 points, something like that. Yikes. All right, into the midfield. So Bont is now the number one mid for the year so far. He's overtaken Oliver, which was one of my bold predictions from the preseason. I still think, based on what we've seen out of Oliver, he probably ends up with that number one mantle. I think my prediction may end up being wrong, but I'm happy I backed Bont in. And then, I picked up Petrarca this week. Merritt, if I had the 2K extra, I probably would have gone just because I trust him more. He's my boy. But fortunate, I guess, that I ended up taking the punt on Petrarca. And the reason why was pretty simple. If you looked at his fixture, you had North, Gold Coast, Hawks, and kind of the next three. And then, Port's a hard matchup, but then Freo again after that. And Petrarca feasts on wins and blowing out sides. And we saw that on the weekend, kick 3 goals. So it was very much soft fixture that I was kind of buying into with Petrarca and some big games. And that's nice. There's some talk about he might get forward DPP. And to be honest, his CBAs were the lowest they'd been on this weekend for the year. So 41%. So he would have helped his, edging up to 35% and be DPP eligible. I'd be really surprised if he ends up actually getting the eligibility, to be frankly honest. But I was picking him as a mid, and if he does end up being a forward as well, that'll be a bonus. It does mean, though, because I've already got 6 forwards, I believe, I'll have to end up trading one out, which, may not be a problem. I do have 6, right? Maybe I don't. Maybe I've just got 5 now. Oh, yeah, it must just be 5. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I thought I had 6. Okay. So if he does, that's fine. I'll have to find another mid. All right, and then the GWS boys in the middle here, Kelly, Green, and Cogs. So Green was really good, Cogs was good, Kelly was just so. He was actually pretty poorly ratioed. He got burnt a little bit early on. He actually, this could have been a 60 or worse, so recovering to a 90, not that bad, but GWS just seems to be up and down at the moment. They play the Dogs this week, which is not good, so having these 3 for that matchup, I'm not keen on. Do any of them have, good histories? Oh, Josh Kelly's got 2 really poor games in there, that's no good. Green should be fine. Doesn't really matter what his history is. And then Cogs is, not too bad. All right, maybe I can get a 110 average. If I kind of get a 110 average across the 3 of them each week, that is a big win. So, yeah. And then in the midfield, I don't have Setterfield. I traded him out 2 weeks ago. So, there's swings and roundabouts with this kind of aggressive trading. I got rid of Setterfield early, which means I missed his bad score, but I got rid of Ashcroft early, so I missed his good score. And geez, I don't even want to have a think about how much money he went up. 24Ks up to 370 now. He's got another 32 break even. So yeah, he's probably got now another 1 to 2 weeks in people's side, and I'm going to miss out on maybe, what's it going to end up being? Maybe 70K, which is a pretty big loss, to be honest. But yeah. But I didn't have Setterfield, who dropped money this week, and he's definitely a trade out if you have him. So Hobbs coming back into that side, it looked like it really hurt Setterfield. With that said, he still had a lot of CBAs without... I want to say it was in the 20s, and I don't know if it's been updated yet on the old DFS Australia, but he still had a large amount, and it just didn't convert. It is. Here we go. Merritt had a really low amount. That's surprising. So Hobbs seemed to stuff things around, even though he only got 10% himself, but he was at a lot of stoppages. Stringer definitely got a ton. They moved him in their second half to kind of combat Denchfield, and that was a really good move for them. So I wonder what that means going forward. Setterfield 68%, so still had a fair bit, but yeah, just no good this week. I think it's fine to move him on. And he seemed to line up on weird positions around the ground. He wasn't just always on ball. So yeah, Setterfield's one that can definitely go if you have him. And then Warple and Hopper kind of under-delivered a little bit. I mean, Warple, this 88 is still fine for what you paid for him, 300K. But yeah, he's 52 break even, means he's kind of getting to the point where he might be a week or 2 away from going. Let's just check the Hawks CBAs, because I don't think they gave Day as many as he'd had previously. 63%, so kind of dropped back off that 82%. Nash stayed high. Warple didn't lose that many. It was Newcomb that actually lost a fair bit. Okay. So I think Warple can probably stay 1 more week, ideally. Just because Freo is a pretty nice matchup. In SuperCoach Gold has them ranked last for mid, to defending midfield scores. So you'd imagine Warple actually has a pretty good score here on them. So kind of tempted to hold against this, even though his history's not good. And then Hopper was the other one who had a pretty poor game. First half was quite bad, and then built into the second half. But he's facing West Coast, which, I mean, it's 16, so like what, third worst? To be honest, I feel like they're even worse than Freo. So his break even's at 90 now, which is quite high, but I'm like tempted to hold against this West Coast midfield, especially given that we've seen he can go, these 120 scores. So the 71's going to be in that price cycle for a bit. I think the problem is if you don't trade him this week, it might be next week before Geelong if he doesn't go really big against West Coast. Maybe he's a trade out this week. And then lastly, Hollands for me. Who went 60-ish again. He had once again like a pretty decent fantasy score, just didn't convert into SuperCoach. Kind of hoping for a couple of bigger games in this stretch. 65, 60, 60 is just so. He's been consistent, right? Nothing below 52, nothing above 71. So he made another 13k. He's now up 123, which is pretty good. 43 break even. So he's probably at the point where I could think about trading him if it helps. And then bench, Johnson got 2 weeks for a dangerous tackle. I think even if they appeal that, it's only likely to go one way, which is up. I don't think they'll get that down. Although I haven't studied the vision. Roberts, as we know, is out injured. Constable can't get a game behind some of the other guys they've got there in Gold Coast, which was always going to be the concern with him. But the fact we didn't get like 1 or 2 price rises hurts. In the rucks, this was English's first down week, so a 90 for the non-owners would be rejoicing, no doubt. Lost 14k, now has 161 break even against GWS. Flynn, I guess, is a decent matchup, and he should be able to score okay, but might come down over the next couple of weeks. I think the timing's obviously awkward though, because if you've got say Grundy, who somehow salvaged a 90, a 90 off this, he almost becomes a must trade at 160 break even. This score isn't going good. This isn't going better than this. He's got Wits this week, which is pretty tough. And Gorn is back, and they're preferencing Gorn over Grundy. So yeah, do you trade to English this week for just 100k? I think probably if you didn't do it last week, it still makes sense. You could look at Darcy if you did want to go left field for some reason, but to be honest, I'd just rather go have English, even though against Hawks, you'd imagine it's a good matchup, despite the fact English just didn't convert on it on the weekend. It says that Hawks are actually decently difficult for rucks. Interesting. Any other rucks worth talking about? I mean, Marshall 159. That's good. Let's just have a look at not rankings, the ruck averages. I'm curious to see who's next in line after the big ones we talked about. I mean, I guess Wits is back, 586. That's basically a straight swap. His average is around this mark. So if you already had English and you were picking a second ruck, would you go Wits over Darcy? Nah, I think you go Darcy still. You remove that bad game Darcy had and he's flying. I don't think it's anyone else. I mean, people might be talking about Teakle. Where is he? Teakle? We'll go through the rookies a little bit at the end. 10 minutes till F1. Oh no, I'm running out of time. But yeah, I don't think he's an option. I'm not really sure about his job security, and at 200k, I just wouldn't be touching it. 200k for a dead rook would be awful. And then the forwards, basically everyone fired this week. Chandler was the big one to have on field, and then Ryan was a pretty good second. If you had Green, JVR, Radigalia on field, it definitely hurt. Although I think Radigalia salvaged a reasonable score at the end. No, 43. I'm mistaken. So this is what I was saying last week around I don't really want someone like Sturt in my side, because if I have Sturt, Ryan, Green, Davey, I've got to field one of these guys at least every week, and I don't want to field any of them. I'm happy to loophole for big scores, but yeah, I don't want to be forced into fielding them. So this week I needed one good score out of Mitchell, Johnson, Green or Ryan. So I had 4 shots, and even then I only got one decent rookie score. So that's why getting these off the field is as important as possible. No one else, there's nothing really to know apart from Taranto is going to be number 1 forward, it looks like, even above Dunkley. So that's just, yeah, he's been mad good. West Coast this week, he's genuinely a VC option there for that game as well, although we'll have a look at it in a second. All right, trade in and out this week. All right, we'll quickly go through the break evens. There's really only one option for me, and that is Sin Cotta or Chin Cotta. The negative 100. Oh, Ben King, reset your break even. Good on you, mate. Yeah, so negative 97 break even, basement price. Like, yeah, mature age rookie. This is the one to jump on. Unfortunately, I think if you double downgrading, this is not the week to do it. So Sam Simpson's there at 166k, so elevated price. He's playing smallish forward role for Geelong at the moment, and in a blowout, well, not a blowout game, but a high scoring game against Essendon, still only managed 58. And I think he kicked 2 or 3 goals to get that score. Like, the scoring just isn't there. Angwin is the one that I kind of like if I had to go a second one, just because like I like what I've seen out of him. Just didn't accumulate enough, which is why you see this 42 here. But he's been good in burst, playing kind of like a wing role for GWS. Like Wagner, there's no reason for him to come back in. And even if he did, what's his job security? Moyle comes back and plays alongside Wits. Maybe you could go there. I don't know. And then yeah, there's no one else here. There's no one else. Like Ollie or Lord's not an option. Williams is gone. Sturt not really an option. What did he drop for 25? Yeah, I think some people might have ended up like having to field that or fielded another bad score. So yeah, I think it's probably not a week for boosts, to be honest. The only other ones I'll talk about quickly is Fiorini, who I know people will be keen on after like a good showing, a 101. So he's up to what, 337k, 12 break even, which is good. I think like I'm not a massive fan though. He played mostly wing. Once again, let's check. I would be very surprised if I saw more than about 10% CBAs for Fiorini. 14%. So he dropped this week. Just letting you know, he dropped this week. Davies was in as well, who plays around the ball. I don't think this is sustainable. It's probably a function of the fact that he was allowed to do a lot of uncontested work around the ground. And he looked good. Like, don't get me wrong, he looked good. But yeah, I want to see like premium CBA role with like confirmed job security if I'm punting on mid prices at this point in the year. And so that won't be it for me. So quickly looking at the break even. So Green here at 57, I think is one that can go. Look, the matchup this week is good against Fremantle, and look, you could definitely reset against it. So if you feel like if you have to hold Green this week, I wouldn't worry about it. There's a chance you can do better than that again. But I will most likely use this as a chance to get Sincotta. Once again, like function of me being aggressive. I'm like trading out some of these people ideally a little bit ahead of where I would. Then trade-in targets. Let's talk about a few. So I think you could go Sinclair, as we mentioned, 540k defense. Sicily and Day are probably the two other options you could look at as well. I'm cool with any of them. Sinclair for me feels like someone I might trade Ridley to during the buys, although I'm a little bit worried he'll get out of price range by then, especially given that St Kilda's fixture gets quite good now. They've got North this week. And that it brings in the second option, which is the man of steel himself, Jack. He is a steal at 540k, break even 126. So it's not someone you have to go this week, especially if you're worried about the shoulder. But he did look good, and North have been giving up some pretty big scores. We saw Petrarca 167 this week. Oliver had a good score. Week before that, you had Neil go like the 170. Like there's just been some massive scores. I think that's right. That's who they've played, right? Wait, no, Took Miller, I think in this game went reasonably big. Wait, no, that was Took's injury game, so scratch that. But Neil did go big in this one. I think Carlton went, like, there was some big scores there. So anyway, Mid's been scoring good against them. So Steele could quite easily beat this break even or keep it around that. And so if he scores a 120, lose a little bit more cash, I'd rather still have just got the 120. So he's an option, but if you're worried about what happened with the AC joint, then yeah. I think Oliver looks like he is near bottom price for those that were hoping to jump on. He does have a 140 break even, so look, you could wait another week. He's got a decent track record against Gold Coast, but then Hawks the week afterward, I expect a decent score, although Nash has been defending people pretty well. And then Laird is an interesting one to talk about because he dropped 100. He was on track for much more than this, but basically had no points in the fourth after the sub scare. So like 136 break even, 634 skate. It like just doesn't excite me that much, to be honest. Yeah. No, especially with the calf scare, I'd stay off that. I know Walsh was a popular option for many this week, and I saw some captain him as well, just depending on how things lay. Went up a tiny bit. He's got a low break even. Carlton Dogs, Collingwood next 3 does not appeal to me. And that's going to go for Cripps as well, who we'll touch on quickly. So despite how good Walsh has looked, that with no preseason is a no. Cripps is the one that people had been talking about a little bit to me, asking this, that, and the other. And I've said no because I'm scared of his scoring once all the Carlton Blues are back. And I mean, he's gone big last 2 weeks, 130, 153. He's now in the top 8 mids for the year and has done it at a relatively cheap price. If you picked him up, around last week, I think you could have got him quite cheap. I went Petrarca instead. I probably can't fit in too many more of these guys in my midfield. Quickly, who else I'm going to touch on? Parrish is still cheap, 560k. He went up 4k this week, a lowish break even 101. I mean, he's been peppering tons with 30 touches a week. I think that's just what you're going to get this year. Eventually, he'll have down games and he'll probably mix in some poor scores, so I'm off that. Merritt got a bit of attention this week, just the 91. So even though he had a 134, he should come down in price a little bit, and Port has tagged him in the past. So he's firmly on my watch list as someone to get cheaper. Who else can we talk about? Brayshaw, 510k. This is a pretty value option here. 104 break even. Had an okay score last week in 98. But I mean, yeah, I still think Steele is just a better option. So in the forwards, I guess if you still haven't got Cogs, 526k, you could probably still look there. What was Butters? Butters is, 535k. I love watching Butters, even though he doesn't always score the best. I love him. All right, so yeah, for me, I think that the person I want to get in is Steele, and so the question is, how can I do that? If he is 540k and I've got 180, it means I need to trade off at least 360k. So I think someone like Hollands is well short, right? Yeah, 468, not even close. So it has to be Hopper or Warple for me. And this is quite tricky. Warple's got the better break even, 52. Hopper's got the 90. But Hopper, until this week, was looking more likely to be the keeper and has the better matchup with West Coast. I need the money, so I might just bounce off Hopper. And this is one of those ones that could backfire where I look back in a week and it turns out that Hopper outscored Steele, which is pretty scary. But yeah, I think this is what I'm going to do. Does give me a little bit of money in the bank for next week too, because thankfully I can't even get to Laird or Oliver, because then that might actually be a genuine consideration. Yeah, they're all way too short. So yeah, so I think Steele's going to be the one I go here. Complete trade, which is good. 90k in the bank for next week, and hopefully that means I can do something like Hollands and Chandler or something like that and get them up to another keeper as well, or maybe put it on Warple's head. In terms of setup, I will have to fix that a little bit, because I think Sincotta is going to be the one that I probably want to play on field over Ryan or something like that. But if I can find a way to actually get the loopholes going, I will. Although it might be hard if Mitchell's playing. Oh no, I can move Constable down back, which is what I'll do, but I'll fit around with that later. Anyway, that is the team for the week. I feel like I've spoken in record time. I've got exactly 1 minute until the F1 starts, but of course, as always, I will be looking at the comments down below. If you've got any other thoughts on my team, you've got questions yourself, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Oh, Vice Captain, I haven't covered that. It's probably going to be Taranto. Without having a deep research, which we'll do later in the week, it's probably going to be something like Taranto into English or Taranto into Bont or something like that. I think Bont's history is good against GWS, isn't it? Not that good. So maybe Taranto into English. If you have Oliver, that against Gold Coast seems like a good one as well. All right, that is everything. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.